So hello everyone and welcome to Career Launcher. So in today's class, we are going to discuss Montagu Chelmsford Reform of 1990. In yesterday's class, we had discussed Parliamentary Reforms of 1909. So this is actually the follow-up of that. Okay. So we will discuss the things around it. First, we will actually discuss what are the background before which this law was passed. ठीक है. तो सबसे पहले हम लोग background जानेंगे थोड़ा सा. उसके बाद हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे कि ये लॉ क्यों पास हुआ and what are the important provisions related with that. So let us begin. Am I audible? Is my voice audible? मेरी आवाज आ रही है आप लोग को? If yes, then please write yes. देखो, why I'm discussing modern Indian history topics, because sometimes people ask, sir, why are you discussing? Is it a part of current affairs? So if you see it, if you see the PYQs, we have seen question. ठीक है, अगर आप देखोगे है ना, राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंस, सिविल डिसोबीडियंस मूवमेंट, है ना, गांधी जी सॉल्ट मार्च. Similarly, we have seen question on Jallianwala Bagh. I have already made a video on that. ठीक है. Then we have seen on questions on topics Constituent Assembly and a debates of Constituent Assembly and the speech of Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar in Constituent Assembly. So these questions were already asked in the exam, है ना? And I have made a video on Constituent Assembly. तो आप इसको जाके सर्च करके देख भी सकते हो. ठीक है. You can watch that. Okay. ठीक है. So let us begin. So first of all, it's 4 p.m. So let us begin with the class. Those who are not aware of the previous classes that we have done. So first of all, go to our channel. Please subscribe to the channel. Go to the playlist. Playlist में view full playlist पे click करना है, and you will get all those videos. So at least यहाँ से जो गांधी सत्याग्रह है ना, after that all the videos please go and watch, because these are very important ones. देखो इससे question आया है जलियांवाला बाग में से घर से, CDM से question आया है CLAT में. So of course now next time they can ask from any other exam, any other topic, like इससे पूछ लेंगे, है ना? So that is why it is very important that you should watch all those previous classes. दूसरी बात ये कि हिस्ट्री जो होती है वो लिंक्ड होती है. ठीक है, वैसे बीच से उठा के नहीं बता सकता हूँ, है ना, कि I will discuss one thing and all. तो अगर आप पूरा देखोगे, so then you will be able to understand the entire concepts easily. And when you make notes, it would be easy for you in understanding. ठीक है. So that is what I want to say. तो अभी जो recently ना देख सकते हो, अभी yesterday we did this class on Parliamentary Reforms, and today I am doing the class on Montagu Chelmsford Reform 1990. Now, so first of all, since yesterday we have done a class, so I'll be doing some sort of recap. Okay, so I will ask questions and I expect you all to answer it from here. Okay, so here is the first question. The introduction of separate electorates happened in the year. तो जब भी इंट्रोडक्शन लिखा है, यानी इससे पहले ये नहीं मौजूद था, इस दिन स्टार्ट किया गया, मतलब the introduction of separate electorates. By which reform? Yes, Harsh, Andok, Shanant, Dog Lover, Siddhi, you are right. Right answer is 1909. By which reform? Yes, A is the right answer. What is the name of the reform? Parliamentary, है ना? Reforms. ठीक है? A is the right answer. Yes, Harsh, very good one. Parliamentary reforms were the set of reforms brought in the year. I hope you can answer it. And please tell me, yes, it was brought in 1909. You have to tell me just before the parliamentary reforms, a party was formed. What is the name of that party that was formed? We had discussed yesterday. Because history को हमेशा sequence से पढ़ेंगे, so we will understand the background context, तो आसान हो जाएगा. Just 2-3 years before parliamentary reforms, not Swaraj Party, and it has link with parliamentary reforms. Yes, very good. Dog Lover has answered. The right answer is Muslim League. When it was formed, in which year? नहीं, कांग्रेस INC तो 1885 में बनी थी, तो बहुत पहले हो गया. Just before I have said. ठीक है. When was Muslim League formed? Because it has a relation with more Lemento reforms. It was formed in which year? 1906. Yes, very good. 1906 में it was formed. And the founder का नाम क्या है? ख्वाजा सलीमुल्लाह. ये पूछा था एग्जाम में कई बार. I have seen sometimes in some PYQs this question being asked. From Dhaka. Dhaka is actually in Bangladesh. Okay. So ये आपको पता होना चाहिए. That is what you should be knowing. Now, so when they got to know that parliamentary reforms will come up with some sort of elections, so the Muslim League leaders, one of the leader was Aga Khan. He was also one of the founding members. He went to meet Lord Minto. Where? In which city he went to meet and convinced Lord Minto to give separate electorate for Muslims? कहाँ हुआ था ये? Where this meeting happened? I discussed yesterday. So I believe that you all should be answering. Aga Khan was one of the leader of Muslim League. He went to meet Lord Minto to convince him that separate electorates should be given to Muslims. Where it happened? Yes, Dr. Navar is saying Simla. Very good. Huh? Yes. So it was called a Simla deputation. Sir, can I take such for CLAT class? Yes, Nani, you can go to you can call on this number, okay, or you can search careerlauncher.com. Go to the there will be a provision for CLAT law section likha hoga, usme click karna, and on the top right you will find WhatsApp numbers. You can call or message them and get to know about the course. Okay. So we were talking about this, that 1906 Muslim League was formed, and later Aga Khan, one of the leaders, went to the Simla, and what we call it as Simla deputation, where he convinced Lord Minto to give separate electorates. And the Minto agreed, and that is why they gave it in 1909. Now, please tell me, I have discussed this, what is the difference between separate electorates and reservation? What is the difference? Please tell me. इस दोनों में फर्क क्या होता है? देखो मैंने इस क्लास में बताया है. देखो ये वाली क्लास देख लो. लेट मी शो. देखो ये वाली क्लास है ना, प्लेलिस्ट में जाना, वो व्यू फॉर प्लेलिस्ट में जाना. You will get this video. McDonald Award and Pune Pact लिखा है. Where I have explained what is separate electorates. So please tell me what is the difference between separate electorates and reservation. Difference क्या है? Because separate electorate was opposed by Gandhi ji, है ना, ये पूरा pact में, and but reservation is still there. In separate electorate, the candidates and voters should be lost. Yes, dog level, you're right. हाँ, ठीक है. आपने सही जवाब दिया. Actually, separate electorates, what happens is if a separate electorate is given to a particular community, let's say X community, then only people of that community can fight election and can vote. The people of other community cannot vote. But in case of reservation, if a reservation is given to X community, the X community candidate will be there, but everyone has right to vote. Okay. So that's the main difference. Okay. So that we have done. Now the next is who is considered as father of communal electorates. ये भी कल मैंने बताया था. So these are revision of that. So I believe you all should be answering. Father of communal electorates. What is the right answer? Yes, the right answer is Lord Minto. Because of Morley Minto reforms, Lord Minto is called as father of communal electorates. He was the first and had to give separate electorates to Muslims. And this is actually in line with British policy of divide and rule. Okay? That is what you should know. Now, the next question is separate electorates for Christians, Anglo-Indians, and Sikh Anglo-Indians were later on brought in the year 1990, 1921, 1935, 1942. बाद में earlier it was given only to Muslims, but later on it was given to Christians, Sikh, Anglo-Indians, Europeans, इन लोग को भी दिया जाने लगा. Which year? And by which reform or which law? Yes, dog lover, you're right. Siddhi, you're right. 1919. Which law or which reform? बताओ. Name क्या था उस law या reform का? I'm waiting for the response. जो क्लास आप देख रहे हो वही Montagu Chelmsford Reform. Yes, very good. हाँ, Montagu Chelmsford Reform brought this. ये भी मैंने आज डिस्कस किया है. ठीक है. This actually the brought the separate electorates for Christians, Sikh, Anglo-Indians, Europeans. So A is the right answer to this question. ठीक है. Now the next is Montagu Chelmsford Reform. Is famously known as what? Government of India Act 1919, Indian Council Act 1919, Imperial Legislation 1919, Separate Electorates Act 1919. इसका ऑफिशियल नेम क्या है? Montagu Chelmsford Reform का. Yes, Adoksh, Anand, dog lover, you both are right. Government of India Act 1919. ठीक है. A is the right answer to this question. तो अगर आप पढ़ोगे इनके विकिपीडिया पेज, मैं विकिपीडिया दिखाता हूँ बिकॉज से कभी कभी क्वेश्चन आ जाता है ना. मॉन्टफोर्ड रिफॉर्म भी कहते हैं शॉर्ट में. मॉन्टागू का मॉन्ट ले लिया और फोर्ड ले लिया यहाँ से. सो मॉन्टफोर्ड रिफॉर्म्स. ठीक है. वाई मॉन्टागू केम्सफोर्ड रिफॉर्म? नाम ऐसा क्यों पड़ा है? बिकॉज लॉर्ड केम्सफोर्ड वाज द वाइसरॉय ऑफ इंडिया. ठीक है. और एडविन मॉन्टागू वाज द सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट. जैसे मॉर्ले मिंटो में नाम कैसे था? देखो, यू रिमेंबर. जैसे मॉर्ले मिंटो, व्हाई इट वाज नेम्ड मॉर्ले मिंटो रिफॉर्म्स? बिकॉज ये जो थे वाइसराय थे और ये जो थे सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट फॉर इंडिया थे. सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट फॉर इंडिया. तो सिमिलरली Montagu Chelmsford is the viceroy and Montagu was secretary of state for India. So secretary of state for India कौन होते थे? Who was that person? Secretary of state for India means he was a minister in British cabinet. And British under British Prime Minister, whose job was specifically to look after India. एक खास मिनिस्टर होते थे प्राइम मिनिस्टर के अंडर. उनका काम ही होता था कि वो मतलब इंडिया की तरफ ध्यान दे स्पेसिफिकली बिकॉज ऑफ कोर्स दे वर रूलिंग इंडिया. सो दैट इज व्हाट यू शुड नो. और इसका जो ऑफिशियल नेम है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया 1919 का. ठीक है. इसको गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया 1919 कहते हैं. ठीक है. इट्स ऑफिशियल नेम. दैट इज व्हाट यू शुड नो. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The Government of India Act 1919 or Montagu Chelmsford Reform. This law was passed by Imperial Legislative Council, Parliament of UK, passed as an ordinance by British monarch, passed as an ordinance by Viceroy. What is the right answer? The right answer is option B, Parliament of Britain or UK. Yes, dog level, you're right. B is the right answer. देखो, देखो इसमें लिखा हुआ भी Government of India Act है ना, was an act of Parliament of UK. It was passed to expand the Indians in the Government of India है ना, and that is what you should know. तो जैसे Parliamentary reforms भी यही था, पार्लियामेंट ऑफ यूके के द्वारा ही पास किया गया लॉ था. ठीक है. सो सिमिलर टू दैट यू शुड बी नोइंग अबाउट. ठीक है. ओके. ये मैंने बता दिया है ना. आई हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड दिस कि यहाँ यूके में सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट होते थे एंड हु यूज्ड टू लुक आफ्टर इंडिया है ना. और इंडिया में जो होते थे वाइसरॉय होते थे. ठीक है. आई हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड. लेट्स मूव ऑन. सो लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द बैकग्राउंड ऑफ Montagu Chelmsford रिफॉर्म. अच्छा, एक चीज बताओ. लेट मी आस्क, Montagu Chelmsford रिफॉर्म केम इन 1919. 1919 में कौन सा बड़ा इवेंट हुआ था? प्लीज टेल मी. आई हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड a big event, one or two big events that happened in 1919. What was that? I've already taught you. The videos are still available. 1919 में क्या एक दो बहुत बड़ी घटना हुई थी? यस, जलियांवाला बाग मैसेकर, राइट. हाँ, उससे पहले रॉलेट एक्ट. एक्चुअली रॉलेट एक्ट जो आया 1919, ठीक है, मार्च 1919, आई वुड से मार्च 1919. फिर से प्रोटेस्ट वगैरह हुआ. इट वाज फॉलोड बाय जलियांवाला बाग मैसेकर. आई एम नॉट गोइंग इन डिटेल बिकॉज आई बिलीव दैट यू ऑल मस्ट हैव स्टडीड. ये हुआ 13 अप्रैल 1919 को. उसके बाद एक्चुअली दिस मॉन्टागू चेम्सफोर्ड रिफॉर्म, या मॉन्टफोर्ड रिफॉर्म शॉर्ट में कहते हैं इसको, मॉन्टफोर्ड रिफॉर्म्स वर ब्रॉट आफ्टर दैट. ठीक है, मैं क्यों कॉन्टेक्स्ट बता रहा हूं? बिकॉज बिना कॉन्टेक्स्ट के हिस्ट्री नहीं पढ़ी जाती है. इससे मैं डायरेक्ट बताया था कि मॉन्टागू चेम्सफोर्ड रिफॉर्म में ये रिफॉर्म था, पढ़ लो, जस्ट रीड इट, बट यू विल नॉट अंडरस्टैंड, है ना. सो द कॉन्टेक्स्ट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इट, कि व्हाट हैड हैपेंड, कीप in your brain this thing that okay, Rowlatt Act happened, so people called it Black Act and people were protesting against it, and then Jallianwala Bagh massacre happened in Punjab, which is linked with Rowlatt Act, the protests related with Rowlatt Act. And then after that, what was the scenario? उसके बाद क्या scenario था? The Montfort Reforms 1919 में आता है, ठीक है. Okay, that is what you should know. और इसके just बाद क्या होता है? What happens in 1920? Just next year. Anyone? Because I want you to read history by connecting things, not in isolation. एक इधर से पढ़ लिया, उधर से पढ़ लिया, नहीं. 1920 में क्या होता है next year? Just after Montagu Chelmsford Reform. Yes, very good. But why only one answer? I've already taught, and I believe that you all should be knowing. Non-cooperation Khilafat movement. Non-cooperation movement was started next year in 1920. ठीक है, तो आप कनेक्ट करके पढ़ोगे तो अच्छा रहेगा, आपको दिमाग में आसानी से याद रखोगे ना. सो अगर आपने नहीं देखा है, सो प्लीज वॉच दो क्लासेस, ठीक है, ये अवेलेबल है प्लेलिस्ट में, जाके आप सारा देख लेना. जलियांवाला बाग में से क्या नेक्स्ट ईयर नॉन कॉपरेशन मूवमेंट. ये नॉन कॉपरेशन 1920 में होता है, जलियांवाला बाग होता है, इसके बीच में समवेयर हियर इज मॉन्टागू चेम्सफोर्ड रिफॉर्म, है ना, समवेयर इन द मिडिल. ठीक है, दैट इज व्हाट यू शुड नो. ओके, लेट्स मूव ऑन फर्दर. And Rowlatt Act was passed. ये तो हमने बताई दी already. We have already discussed. Option B. Rowlatt Act was passed in March 1919. Why was? अच्छा, अब बताओ तो. I am just giving 30 seconds to answer this question. Why was it opposed? I have already discussed these things, but एक मैं fast recap भी करा रहा हूँ ताकि you will get an idea. It will be easy because of no trial. है ना, arrest without trial, है ना, arrest without trial, इसे मैंने बता दिया. And this violates the idea of presumption of innocence, and you can be arrested for 2 years without trial. इसे मैंने already बता दिया था. It is also called as anarchical revolutionary crimes act, है ना. And it violates principle of natural justice. It violates presumption of innocence because, है ना, a person is assumed to be innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, है ना. ये सब चीज मैंने आपको already बता दिया था. फिर मैंने ये भी बताया था कि which article of the Indian Constitution provides protection and against arrest and detention in certain cases. मतलब एक तरह से it is sort of, it gives a sort of a due process of law, है ना. So that is mentioned in 22, है ना. ये सब मैंने discuss कर दिया था. We have already discussed it. So now let's further move on. तो ये रॉलेट सत्याग्रह के बारे में we have already done it. That started in March 1919 from Mumbai city, है ना. And then after the unfortunate incident of that Jallianwala Bagh massacre happened. Official name कभी कहीं पूछ सकते हैं, तो आपको याद रखना भाई, ये पूछो ना. This you are asking. Anarchical Revolutionary Crimes Act, हाँ, एक दो बार पढ़ लीजिएगा. It is called as Rowlatt Act because जो कमेटी बनाई गई थी, that committee was headed by Sidney Rowlatt. ठीक है, and that is why इसको famously Rowlatt Act कहते हैं, but originally ये नाम था Anarchical and Revolutionary Crimes Act 1919. Maybe they can ask. तो एक दो बार आप पढ़ लीजिएगा. तो this was actually to curb the revolutionary activities of young Indians. तो उसको दबाने के लिए लोग कर रहे थे. अच्छा, एक और इसका ना वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री से भी इसका रिलेशन है, ठीक है. You will be surprised to know 1917 a revolution happened in one country. बता सकते हो कहाँ revolution हुआ था? Anyone? That is how history is being read. So connection पहली बात तो सीक्वेंस में पढ़ी जाती है, and it has some link with the world history. मैंने आपको बताया था जब when I was discussing Cripps mission also. कि वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री से कनेक्ट करके पढ़ाता है. This is also connection. There is also some connection. 1917 revolution happens in which country? A communist revolution, Bolshevik revolution, Russian revolution. Yes, very good. इनसे क्या होते हैं? Young लड़के होते हैं ना, young people, young Indians. They are very much inspired by communism or socialism. That is why they move towards revolutionaries. Okay? Okay? And that is why they brought this law, fearing this. अब मैं देखो बताता हूँ कैसे. अगर आपने, I'm sure you must have heard his name, भगत सिंह. अगर आप 1920s में जाओगे तो हिंदुस्तान रिपब्लिकन आर्मी was made, which was later made Hindustan Socialist Republican Army. Why socialist word? This was added by Bhagat Singh. Why? Because 1917 when Russian Revolution happened, and all these Bhagat Singh and all the young leaders, Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Sukhdev, Rajguru, they all were inspired by this. इसलिए भगत सिंह ने बुक भी लिखी ना, Why am I an atheist? ठीक है. तो जब पढ़ी जाती है ना बुक, तो ऐसे पढ़ी जाती है. तो 1917 Russian Revolution happened. Youths and youngsters were very much inspired by that. अब ब्रिटिश become fearful कि कहीं ऐसा नहीं हो कि इंडिया में भी ऐसा कुछ हो जाए. That is why they brought it. ठीक है. So ऐसे कॉन्सेप्ट कंटेक्स्ट में पढ़ा जाता है. Okay. So this will be helpful. So इसलिए आप देखना 1920s में a lot of revolutionaries activities happen in India. है ना. ठीक है. That keep Bhagat Singh in mind. Bhagat Singh and Hindustan Socialist Republican Army, etc. तो वैसे आप कनेक्ट कर लोगे. ठीक है. Yes. So that is what we are talking about it. ये हो गया. We are done with that. Jallianwala Bagh massacre then happened after that, 30th April 1919. After Rowlatt Act, I mean this is linked with that. I'm not going in detail because I believe you must have watched this. है ना. Jallianwala Bagh वाली क्लास आपने देख ली होगी. I'm sure you must have watched that video. So that's why I'm not going in that detail. ठीक है. This happens in Amritsar. I hope you are aware where this unfortunate incident happened, killings and all. And people had gathered because they were protesting because of the arrest of two leaders, है ना, Saifuddin and Satpal Kichliu, Satpal and Saifuddin Kichliu, है ना. So these things we have already done, so I'm not going in that detail. उसके non-cooperation movement start होता है 1920 में. और इसमें जो है ना, one of the reason for protest non-cooperation movement was punishing those involved in Jallianwala Bagh massacre, है ना. This we have already done. So that is what you should be knowing. So now let's come to the topic. And ये सब हम लोगों ने कर लिया NCERT में. These are all the things we are done with it. ठीक है. ये सब भी हम लोगों ने कर लिया था. Now let's move on to provisions. अब हम लोग directly provisions of Montagu Chelmsford Reform पे चलते हैं. Now अब देखो हुआ क्या, धीरे धीरे they were moving towards election. अगर हमने देखा होगा yesterday we had discussed 1909 Morley-Minto reforms. So they had introduced some sort of election, indirect या कुछ type का election उन्होंने धीरे से introduce किया. Now they were expanding the concept of election. ठीक है. Not 100% universal adult franchise, but धीरे धीरे slowly they are expanding it. So now the Imperial Legislative Council. This is what today आप कहो तो it is equivalent to Parliament of India. Now consists of two houses. मतलब bicameralism introduce कर दिया. This is called as bicameralism, having two houses. One house is called as Central Legislative Assembly, which is equivalent to today Lok Sabha. And another is called as Council of State, which is equivalent to today Raj Sabha. ठीक है. Okay. तो जो दो houses बनाया गया था वो 1919 में बनाया गया था वही as a result of Montagu Chelmsford Reforms. So these two houses were formed, and that is why now it is called as bicameralism. Two houses. Central Legislative Assembly, which is equivalent to today Lok Sabha, any lower house. And this is the Council of State, which is Raj Sabha, that is upper house today. Okay. Or you should know it that this is the place where in 1929 Bhagat Singh and Bhakteshwar Dutt put a low intensity bomb. I'm sure you must have heard this. है ना, आपने सुना होगा. The second thing that was brought was dyarchy at state level. At state level it was brought. या province level जिसको कहते हैं. This is very, very important. What is dyarchy? तो dyarchy में क्या होता है, पहले आपको ये समझना होगा, है ना. Dyarchy at state level मतलब जैसे देखो, this is a path just for explanation purpose. देखो ये 1937 का है. 1919 में थोड़ा सा चेंज होगा इंडिया, but roughly for understanding purpose I am explaining it. अगर आप गौर से देखो कि these are princely states जो ब्राउन कलर में or what we call it as light brownish color में, or brownish or pinkish mixed color. These are princely states. And the rest pink colors, जो ये सब है ना, pink color ये सब है, pink, blue and red. These are British provinces. ठीक है? तो princely states होते थे, उसमें तो अपना king होता था, independent king. They have their own independent king. We are not talking about that, but the other one was princely states. The other one was British Indian provinces. इसको कहते थे British Indian provinces, which was controlled by British. So British Indian provinces में हर state में एक governor होता था. Like all India level, there was viceroy. तो कैसे मैं बताता हूँ? सबसे पहले बताता हूँ. All India level पर who was ruling? There was governor general, कहते थे governor general और viceroy of British. State level पे क्या होते थे? There used to have governors या lieutenant governors होते थे ना. But now at state level they brought some sort of dyarchy. Di से मतलब इधर two. It means now we'll be having governors as well as ministers. Would be mostly Indians, of course, because election होगा, तो of course Indians would be elected. ठीक है? Now पहले क्या होता था? Before this 1919, what was the case? All the power was in the hand of governors. तो उसको reserve subject आ गया. Reserve subject means subjects which are in the hand of governors, which will remain in the hand of governors even after 1990. However, governor transferred some subject to the ministers. These are called as transferred subjects. ठीक है? तो मिनिस्टर्स को लेकिन तो भी सारी इंपॉर्टेंट पावर जो है ना गवर्नर्स के पास रहते थे. फॉर एग्जांपल पुलिस, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, these all were in the hand of governors called as reserve subjects. But transfer subject में education, agriculture ये सब यहाँ दे दिया गया. Education, agriculture यहाँ दे दिया गया. Even like justice ये सब यहाँ था governor के पास. Is it clear? You got the concept of reserve subjects and transfer subjects. This entire setup को ही dyarchy कहते थे, which was introduced at state level in 1990. Is it clear? Yes or no? Please say yes or no. It's important. It's a question अगर आ जाएगा ना, and if you have watched it, then of course it will be easy for you. Otherwise, exam में dyarchy आ गया तो आप नहीं समझ पाओगे ये क्या होता है ना. Please write yes if it is clear. ठीक है, तो यही है. अगर आप देखो अब आप समझ लोगे. ट्रांसफर सब्जेक्ट मतलब गवर्नर हैज ट्रांसफर्ड टू द मिनिस्टर्स हु आर मोस्टली इंडियंस, है ना. सो एजुकेशन पब्लिक हैज लेस इंपॉर्टेंट वंस, बिकॉज़ जाहिर सी बात है कोई अपना इंपॉर्टेंट पावर थोड़ी दे देगा दूसरे को. नो वन वांट्स टू गिव पावर टू अदर्स, है ना. सो फाइनेंस, लॉ एनफोर्समेंट, पुलिस, लैंड रेवेन्यू स्टिल कंट्रोल्ड बाय ब्रिटिश गवर्नर्स, एंड इवन द गवर्नर्स हैव पावर ऑफ वीटो एट स्टेट लेवल. तो पावर दिया गया इंडियंस को, बट थोड़ा बहुत, राइट, because nobody wants to give power, है ना. So they give some powers, but weaker powers, less important subjects were given in 1990. ठीक है. And because governors were mostly British, अंग्रेज रहेंगे तो appointed होते थे. But ministers were, of course, when you elect a people and there is a voting, of course, Indians will win the election, है ना. Because of course majority is Indians, so ministers generally Indians होते थे. Indians को they gave some power, but not much. Why they give power? देखो हुआ ये था कि अब 1885 कांग्रेस was made. ये 1919 की बात है. उसके बीच में 1906 में मुस्लिम लीग formed and many other parties formed. So they all were demanding something कि हमको इलेक्शन कराओ, कुछ दो हमको भी, give us power. तो उन्होंने कहा ठीक है थोड़ा सा दे देते हैं. So some power they give, not all. ठीक है. Now yes, तो अगर आप देख सकते हो तो dyarchy was introduced in 8 provinces. तो ये सब province है, इसमें dyarchy introduce किया गया. Women were given right to vote, but be careful, not all women. मतलब अब ये कहा जाए कि when did women get the right to vote in British India? So you can say 1919. But please be aware, there is no universal adult franchise. Universal adult franchise नहीं था, मतलब यहाँ पे लिख देता हूँ. No universal adult franchise. What is universal adult franchise? यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज का मतलब है कि एवरीवन हैज राइट टू वोट irrespective of religion, race, caste, gender, etc. है ना. 18 प्लस या 21 प्लस, व्हाटएवर इज द केस. तो जैसे now it is 18 plus, but when we got independence it was 21 plus. So universal adult franchise we got in 1947 when we became independent. Before that, whenever elections used to happen, there were some restrictions. सारे लोग वोट नहीं कर सकते थे. There was some restriction regarding property or something like that. Okay. Okay. So women got right to vote, but not all the women. Okay. That is what you should know. The legislative council may reject the budget, but the governor has authority to restore it. ठीक है, तो भाई थोड़ा बहुत ना बातचीत डिस्कशन अलाउ किया गया भाई, बिकॉज 1885 में कांग्रेस बन गई थी एंड दे वर प्रेशराइजिंग द गवर्नमेंट टू गिव अस मोर पावर. देखो यहाँ भी बात हुई ना, अगर मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ, है ना, कि लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल कुड प्रपोज लेजिस्लेशन, कुछ लॉ के लिए आप प्रपोजल दे सकते हो, ठीक है, आप बजट रिजेक्ट कर सकते हो, लेकिन गवर्नर उसको चेंज कर सकता है. सो आफ्टर ऑल द पावर इज स्टिल इन द हैंड ऑफ गवर्नर एट स्टेट लेवल. ठीक है, and still similarly at central level we are having viceroy had full authority still, है ना, that is what you should know. ठीक है, and legislature had the authority to ask questions. अब देखो क्वेश्चन वगैरह पूछने का थोड़ा सा स्पेस दे दिया गया. Why? Because after 1885 Indian National Congress was formed, so we had seen pressurizing the Congress and the other people. They were pressurizing the British to give us something, to give us some power. पर ठीक है, थोड़ा सा ले लो, चलो आप क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हो, है ना. But still 75% of the budget is unvoted. मतलब आपकी वोटिंग पे पावर पे डिपेंड नहीं करेगा. So ठीक है, will directly pass, the governor general will directly pass, है ना, और the governor the state level. ठीक है, so unvoting मतलब क्या है, नॉन डेमोक्रेटिक नेचर हो गया ना ये, because generally budget should be passed by voting, that is the main idea, ना. So आप ये देख सकते हो. ठीक है, फिर सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट जो होते थे ब्रिटिश में, ब्रिटिश कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर, he should be paid through British exchequer. मतलब पहले क्या होता था, सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट फॉर इंडिया, he was a British minister, but he was paid from the expenditure from India. But now British expenditure exchequer इन ब्रिटिश के खजाना से पेश किया जाएगा. ठीक है, that was one thing that happened. फिर इंडियन हाई कमिश्नर टू लंदन was appointed, यानी एक इंडिया का रिप्रेजेंटेटिव होगा लंदन में, who will represent Indian interest. ठीक है, so Indian High Commissioner भी अपॉइंट किया गया था 1919 वाले लॉ में. ठीक है, Montagu Chelmsford Reform, that you can go and raise your concern. I mean, an Indian officer or Indian ambassador, you can say, he or she can raise the concern about Indians in England. ठीक है. Now, one more thing जो मैंने आपको बताया कि Morley Minto reforms brought separate electorates for Muslims, and then Montagu Chelmsford Reform expanded to Sikh, Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians, and Europeans. Okay, that is what you should be knowing about. ठीक है, और मैंने आपको बताया इसके बाद which law actually gave separate electorates to depressed classes. ये कौन कब आया था? I have made a separate video. Please tell me. Separate electorate for depressed classes, which was opposed by Gandhi ji in Pune Pact, and later on this was cancelled. Please tell me. उस award is a particular name. I have made a video. मैकडोनल्ड अवार्ड कहते हैं, मैकडोनल्ड अवार्ड, है ना, और व्हाट वी कॉल इट एज कम्युनल अवार्ड भी कहते हैं. गो एंड वॉच, आई हैव मेड अ वीडियो ऑन इट 1932. उस प्लेलिस्ट में है ये वो वीडियो, दैट प्लेलिस्ट दैट आई हैव टोल्ड यू टू वॉच. ठीक है, बट ये लेटर ऑन कैंसिल हो गया था, सो दैट अदर टू वर देयर. हां, मैकडोनल्ड अवार्ड, राइट, मैकडोनल्ड अवार्ड, यू आर राइट. हां, गुड, मैकडोनल्ड अवार्ड इट वाज कॉल्ड. क्रिटिसिज्म ऑफ Montagu Chelmsford Reform, वही मैंने बता दिया कि एक सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट्स को कम्युनलाइज करने के लिए फर्दर आइडिया ऑफ डिवाइड एंड रूल. The next one is limited voting rights. I have told you universal adult franchise नहीं दिया गया था. We got universal adult franchise only after 1947, only we became independent, है ना. फिर ये सब था और इसमें नो कंट्रोल था. अब इसमें इतना डिटेल नहीं जाना है. कुछ प्रोविंसेस को ज्यादा प्रेफरेंस दिया गया, some provinces were given more preferences over the other. So these are some of the things you should be knowing. Now, इसके बाद सबसे important चीज ये है कि Montagu Chelmsford Reform 1919 said that we will review this after 10 years, the working of the constitution. तो 10 साल बाद इसको रिव्यू किया जाएगा. So ideally it should come 1929, है ना. But even 2 years before that, 1927 ही में कमेटी बना दी गई to review the working of 1919 law. And who was the head of the committee? Who was the head of the committee to review the Montagu Chelmsford Reform 1919? अब आपको पढ़ने में समझने में कनेक्शन में आसानी होगी. साइमन कमीशन वही था, जॉन साइमन. 1927-28 के आसपास ये कमेटी बनाई जाती है. Why? To review how 1919 law was working. Yes, very good. Simon Commission. But when he came to India, he was opposed and people were protesting, Simon, go back. Why? Simon, वापस जाओ, वापस जाओ. Because there was no Indian member in that. And that is why a lot of protests happened when he landed in Bombay and Karachi and other places. So people started protesting, Simon, go back, Simon, go back. Yes, very good. Because people, Indians believe कि भाई आप मेरी बात, आप मेरे related law बना रहे हो, आप आ रहे हो India, तो आप मेरे को एक member तो रखो. At least one Indian member should be there to listen our grievances, to give our perspective also. है ना? That is why it was in the news. है ना? तो आप जाके देख लेना ये वीडियो. These videos please go and watch, है ना? Because I believe that you should have watched. ठीक है, playlist पे जाकर के ये सब सारे videos देख लेना. Okay, so this is all about today's class. Please subscribe to our channel, press the like button, share this video. Thank you everyone. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.